Hello everyone and welcome back. You're watching The Money Show on ET now. It's time for our Spend with TMS segment, and today we're throwing the spotlight on property. India has been one of the worst performing markets when it comes to property appreciation. In fact, in the year gone by, property prices in India have fallen by close to 4% year on year. This puts them in the 56th. That's the lowest position in Knight Frank's Global House Price Index for Q4 of 2020. So let's understand what exactly has led to India's underperformance from a property investor point of view. I have with me Rajani Sinha, Chief Economist and National Director for Research with Knight Frank India. Rajani, thanks so much for joining us. To start with, and before I get into the details, what are the other highlights from this report? It's an index, only 56 countries. What really stood out? What are the characteristics of the companies, countries, sorry, force of habit when I say companies, but what are the countries that really stood out there?
Good evening, and thank you for having me in the show. So, to talk about the main highlights of this report, so our Global House Price Index, like you said, it's an index of residential prices in 56 countries. And interestingly, even in this pandemic year, 2020, the Global House Price Index has gone up by 5.6% as compared to 2019. As in 2019, the growth of Global House Price Index was 5.3%. So even in pandemic year, we have seen better growth in Global House Price Index. And in fact, of the 56 countries, 89% of our basket countries have shown house price appreciation in 2020. There are a lot of reasons why house prices have gone up globally. One, definitely the low interest rates. Globally, we are seeing that. Second, like in India, globally, people, with the lifestyle changing, home buyers are feeling the need to upgrade their houses, go for bigger and better houses. And then definitely in some of the markets, there was a supply crunch, which resulted in prices rising. If I look specifically at the markets where the prices have risen very sharply globally, Turkey leads the basket with a price increase of around 30%, followed by New Zealand, where the housing prices have increased by some 18% or so. In fact, even in US, the house price increase was pretty healthy at around 10%. And not that housing prices have increased everywhere. There are countries in the EU like Spain where house prices have fallen. Then some of the countries in Asia like Malaysia, Hong Kong, where housing prices have fallen. And like you mentioned, in India, prices have fallen by 3.6%. This is the average price for the top 8 cities, which gets India to the bottom of the 56 countries rank. So yes, there's been a sharp fall in, not a very sharp fall, but still a 4% fall in residential prices in India as against the global. If you see the phenomena, there has been an increase in housing prices.
So yeah, let's focus in actually on India. What is the reason that India has found itself, not just at the bottom right now, but consistently slipping, in that position from the last couple of quarters?
So actually, if you see the India price fall, it's not just the pandemic story. Even before the pandemic, residential prices in India were falling. So if I look at the last 4 years, till 2019, leave aside the pandemic year, residential prices had fallen by 14-15%. So there was excess supply in the market. We had huge unsold inventory of around 4.4 lakh units. A lot of excesses had built up in the real estate sector, which slowly we have seen all that going out of the system. Speculative activities have reduced, and now there are more of end users in the market. So prices had already been falling because of the excess supply situation, and then we got hit by the pandemic, and that resulted in prices falling further. And even during the pandemic, we also have to take into account that the lockdown in India was much more severe than what we saw globally. Hence, the economic impact of the pandemic in India has been much more severe. which is also getting reflected in the real estate sector, especially in the prices.
So as an investor, taking into consideration all these issues that you just flagged off, is this not a good time then to buy property? Because the issues that you've spoken about, they will take time to sort of ebb off. So as an investor in the property market, what should I do?
See, investors in real estate market in India are basically looking for price appreciation. Because if you look at rental yields, that's very low in India. So that wouldn't be something luring the investors. It's the price appreciation. And like I said, price appreciation in the Indian real estate market right now looks difficult, at least for the time being, because there's still excess supply in the market. We still have huge unsold inventory. Demand is picking up in the market. But like I said, now what we're going to see in the market is mainly the end user demand. So the speculation which we were seeing earlier, a lot of investors who were there in the market who were making the price rise sharply in the past, that's unlikely to happen now.
Okay, now shifting focus, I'd have actually one more follow-up question from an investment point of view. In commercial property, the yields are still a little better. I wouldn't say great, but they're a little better. What about those individuals who have that spare property lying? The yields are not that great. Do you see that maybe improving?
So, if you talk about even the commercial property, the situation is it's a little gray area right now. I mean, if you look at the office segment till 2019 was doing very well. But now with this whole work from home, there's a lot of uncertainty now. So it's not that the office demand is not going to be there. It will come back eventually because people have seen their productivity falling with this whole work from home environment. And corporates as well as employees are now itching to go back. But there is a lot of uncertainty still because of the second wave of COVID coming into the Indian economy. And hence, a lot of transactions, even in the office market, could get delayed going forward. And hence, even if you look at the retail market, currently the situation is a little cloudy because there's a lot of uncertainty related to COVID, because of which right now, investors would be a little wary.
So to wrap it up, Rajani, the fact that we've already seen property prices fall, they've not really done much in the last few years as well. Is this a great time to then buy a house, especially if one has to live in it?
Yeah, definitely. For buying a house, it's a very good time because prices have fallen. And this 3.6 or 4% number that we are talking about, the price fall in Indian residential market, actually this is on paper. Ground reality, prices have fallen much more than that because the developers have been giving a lot of indirect discounts, freebies, flexible payment options. So, at this point, it's very attractive to buy a house. Prices have fallen. Government has, some of these state governments have been giving incentives, like Maharashtra has given stamp duty cut. And right now, the developers in Maharashtra are absorbing rest of the stamp duty. Similarly, Karnataka government has also come up with the stamp duty reduction announcement. Interest rates are at a low. So definitely from a buyer's perspective, I would say this is a very good time. The kind of pickup that we are seeing in demand, developers are already talking about they are now able to reduce the discount. So now when we are talking to developers, they're saying in the last 3-4 months, they've been able to reduce the discount that they were giving earlier. And they are hoping to be able to increase some level of prices in the next few months. So I would say this is a very good time to buy property for end users.
All right. Well, we're completely out of time. Rajani, thank you so much for joining us today on the show and sharing with us some of the highlights of the index. And, as an investor, as a buyer, what should you take note of?